Hello, this is Michael Paul with the New Orleans Scottish Rite College. Sometimes I get emails that I can quickly answer. Sometimes I get emails that I can't answer at all. But then sometimes I get emails that make me stop and think. Even if I know that it's a simple question, sometimes I see more to it if I look at the question from maybe around the corner. Such was the case with one email I received. I believe it was a simple, straightforward question. I was asked, who can be a Scottish Rite Mason? The brother didn't give me a lot of information about himself, but he did say that he was senior deacon of his lodge and that he had been a Mason for a few years. The easy answer is that he should be able to go and pay the secretary of his valley a visit. There he could pick up an application and learn any details of his particular valley. I assumed that this was what he was asking and sent him this information. He sent me back a thank you note. But I continued to look at this question and I realized that depending on who was asking it, that question could mean a lot of different things. For example, what is someone's understanding of Scottish Rite Mason? Also, what does he mean, who can? Could he mean who should? I'd like to dissect this question a bit and try to examine it from a few different sides. Also, at the beginning, I'd like to add a disclaimer of sorts. The ancient and accepted Scottish Rite is a 33-degree system. It begins in the eminent apprentice degree and concludes with the degree of Sovereign Grand Inspector General. Now, this does not mean that every Scottish Rite body confers every degree of the Scottish Rite. Different degrees are conferred by different bodies. In addition, some Supreme Councils have modified the degrees worked in their bodies. But regardless of any of this, the system is a 33-degree system. For the benefit of this discussion, however, I will use the term Scottish Rite to refer to the 4th degree and above. I remember a good many years ago when I first joined the Valley of New Orleans. I was eager to participate in every way that I could. Ritual was rather easy for me, and it was something in which I excelled in the craft lodge. This somewhat transferred over to the Scottish Rite. I began taking part in a number of the various degrees, some of them as part of the permanent degree teams, and some filling in as needed. In truth, the Scottish Rite was exactly what I was looking for out of Masonry. I could see in the ritual and the teachings of the Scottish Rite a profound philosophy, a system of moral teachings, integrity, honor, duty, and so much more. I spent a good bit of time trying to read up on as much as I could of the philosophy of the Scottish Rite. I would also try to talk with as many of the older members as possible, trying to pick their brains. But then one of them told me something that made me stop and wonder. We were talking about the philosophy of the Scottish Rite, and he was the first one, at least the first one that I remember, who said that the Scottish Rite was the college of Freemasonry. I'm sure the term had been used many times before, but this was the first time that I heard it. I understood what he meant, and I agreed with him. But then he added something that took me by surprise. He said that it was his opinion that no one should be allowed to join the Scottish Rite unless they had a college degree. He said that the lessons of the Scottish Rite were of such a nature that they could not be understood by uneducated individuals. I did a lot of thinking about that statement. It calls for a clear judgment of others. I thought about my grandfather. He was the reason that I joined Freemasonry. He came to the United States when he was 15 years old. He was from what was then Yugoslavia and is now Croatia. He barely had a grammar school education, and yet he could speak 7 languages. The books that he had around his house were some of the deepest philosophical books ever in print. He was also a member of the New Orleans Valley. I could think of no one more worthy, eligible, and a true Scottish Rite Mason than my grandfather. So why would this Mason say such a thing? It was at this time that I realized that many see the Scottish Rite from different perspectives. I very much agree that not everyone, and that includes not every Mason, should be a Scottish Rite Mason. This is not a slight against any Mason, but just an evaluation of both Freemasonry and the Scottish Rite. I'm not passing judgment on the worthiness of anyone, only observing that it may not be of the liking to everyone. I don't assume that everyone likes the same flavor of ice cream that I like, nor do I assume that my taste in Masonry is the same as everyone else. but I do not at all believe that a degree from a college is the same any sort of valid appraisal of the worthiness of one to join the Scottish Rite. I do understand the concept that some jurisdictions have of the Scottish Rite being more exclusive. In some jurisdictions, one does not join the Scottish Rite. They must be invited. If no invitation comes, then they will never receive the fourth degree in the Scottish Rite. The problem is that all of this can possibly take on a sinister undertone if it is received or practiced without the highest moral integrity. The truth is, far too many view the Scottish Rite as a club. Maybe they use it to gain honors or status or power. Maybe they just enjoy the company of those Masons who belong to different lodges and who they may only see once a month or so at a valley meeting. Regardless, they don't choose to use the deep lessons in the rituals of the Scottish Rite as anything more than necessary ritual plays that one must witness or participate in order to join. I'm going to set these brothers aside for the balance of this discussion and focus only on those who see the Scottish Rite as a system of profound philosophy and use it as a college of Freemasonry. In other words, a system designed to gain personal enlightenment. If you have a desire to learn more of the deeper aspects of Freemasonry, then the Scottish Rite is for you. You will need to ignore those who use the system as only a tool to feed their ego by means of obtaining honors or degrees. You will need to focus only on the Scottish Rite ritual and philosophy. But I believe that by doing so, you can uncover a profound system of Masonic education. The deeper aspects of integrity, honor, responsibility, duty, and so much more will be explained in a way that many will never understand. Yes, the Knights Templar as well as other knightly orders are highlighted in the ritual of the Scottish Rite. They have been there since the earliest times of the Rite. Once, at a Scottish Rite reunion, I overheard someone going from table to table where the candidates were sitting, telling them that in order to complete the Scottish Rite degrees, they would need to petition the York Rite. In the United States, this is absolutely 100% false. Both the York Rite and the Scottish Rite are beautiful, complete systems. Neither depends on the other to complete either system. Many Masons belong to both of the rites, and this is great. But no one should be tricked into believing that either system depends on the other for a complete understanding of their own system. It's just not true. When you begin your study of the ancient accepted Scottish Rite, don't forget to study the craft degrees of that system. Without an understanding of the Scottish Rite craft lodges, the foundation of the Scottish Rite is taken away, and you are left with an incomplete understanding of this profound system. So if you are looking for the deeper aspects of Freemasonry, the Scottish Rite is something you should join. It's as simple as that. By just scratching the surface of the Scottish Rite's philosophy and teachings, you'll find alchemy, the Hermetic arts, the honor codes of the Knights Templar, and so very much more that will provide you with the very reasons as to why you joined Freemasonry in the first place. The Scottish Rite might be viewed as, or by the unenlightened, as a place where you can become a big shot. Sure, if that's what you want, that's what you need, go for it. But for those who truly understand the meaning of enlightenment, they will find in the Scottish Rite a rich and meaningful path to what they've always been seeking. If this applies to you, then you can and really should join the Scottish Rite. Thank you for watching. I hope this video has been of some help. If you find these videos of any value, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you, and see you next time.